right, welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something you guys specifically requested.
Oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah, the future of the European economy. And you sent in a ton of great stuff.
Articles, reports.
YouTube videos, even some...
Yeah, some pretty strong opinions from across the pond.
Exactly, which is always fun.
Always makes things interesting.
So we're going to try to make sense of it all, right? Figure out where things are headed for Europe.
Yeah, because this story that's coming out about Europe's economy, it's kind of all over the place, right?
Yeah, some sources are like doom and gloom.
Total meltdown.
Downers are a bit more...
Hopeful.
Yeah, optimistic.
Cautiously optimistic.
But one thing that kind of jumps out at you from a lot of this stuff is that Europe is facing some pretty big choices.
Yeah, decisions that'll have a lasting impact.
Yeah, like decades to come kind of stuff.
Shaping the future, for sure.
Right, and some of the numbers are kind of...
Yeah, they grab your attention.
eye-opening for sure.
Very scary. Even.
Like one thing that stood out was that the EU economy is now only 65% the size of the US economy.
Compared to, what was it?
90% back in 2008.
So that's a pretty big...
Yeah, pretty significant drop.
Makes you wonder what happened.
Yeah, and then on top of that, China has already blown past the EU in terms of the global GDP.
Yep, surpassed them.
And some sources are even saying, watch out, India could be next.
Yeah, India's on the rise.
So it's like, what's going on over there? What's driving this whole trend?
Well, there are a few things, right?
Yeah.
A lot of these sources point to the 2010 Eurozone crisis.
Right, the aftermath of that.
Yeah, and those austerity measures they put in place.
Those were tough.
The idea was to stabilize things.
Get things back on track.
But it might have ended up, stifling growth in the long run.
Like slamming on the brakes too hard.
Yeah, you avoid the crash.
But then you lose all your momentum.
Exactly. Good analogy. And it's not just that.
Oh, yeah, there's more.
Demographics are playing a role, too.
Ah, right. The whole aging population thing.
Yep. Europe's getting older and birth rates are down.
Fewer workers, more retirees.
Puts a strain on everything.
Social systems, the economy.
Makes it harder to keep pace.
Especially with how fast the global economy is changing.
Right. And this is where some sources say Europe missed the boat.
Ooh, missed the boat on what?
The digital revolution, especially in tech and AI.
Oh, yeah, they talk about that a
We're
lot.
playing catch up now, but it's tough.
Like showing up late to a party.
It's already in full swing, yeah.
Everyone else is having a blast.
And you're just trying to figure out where the snacks are?
And speaking of missing the boat, one example that really hit home for me was Volkswagen.
Oh, yeah, Europe's biggest car manufacturer.
But they were slow to get on board with the whole electric vehicle thing.
They didn't see the slick coming.
All those Chinese companies.
Yeah, they're lagging behind.
It's kind of symbolic, right?
Of a bigger trend in Europe, I think.
What do you mean?
This hesitation to really embrace new technology.
And not just embrace them, but spread them throughout the economy.
Yeah, get everyone on board.
And that reluctance has really hurt them, right?
Impacted productivity, competitiveness.
It's like they're holding themselves back.
In a way, yeah.
And then, on top of all that, you've got the whole energy transition thing.
Oh, right, the big shift away from fossil fuels.
Yeah, Europe's trying, but it's not easy.
No, it's a massive undertaking.
Electricity costs are way higher there than in the U.S.
And they're still pretty reliant on external suppliers for energy.
And for those critical raw materials.
Which, as we've seen recently, can be a bit of a problem.
Yeah, when things get disrupted.
Supply chains go haywire.
Makes you vulnerable.
Definitely.
It's like building a house on shaky ground.
Not that it's foundation for stability.
So, given all of this, what can Europe do? How do they create a better future for themselves?
Well, that's where this Draghi report comes in.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
It's pretty blunt.
Like straight to the point?
Draghi basically says, look, Europe's in trouble.
Whoa, serious stuff.
Yeah, no sugarcoating.
So what's the solution? What does he suggest?
Well, he's calling for a pretty big shift in Europe's economic model.
Like a complete overhaul.
Almost, yeah.
Big changes.
He wants massive investments in innovation and strategic sectors.
Okay, so pouring money into the right areas.
Exactly. And not just any areas, but the ones that will drive future growth.
Like green tech, AI, that kind of stuff.
Yep. And he also wants a truly unified single market.
Ah, breaking down those national barriers.
Getting everyone on the same page.
Makes sense, but is that even possible?
It's a big question.
27 countries, all with their own interests.
Can they really come together on something this big?
It's a tough one.
And then there's the issue of attracting and keeping skilled workers.
Right, the brain drain problem.
It's tough to compete when other countries are offering better opportunities.
Higher salaries, maybe.
Exactly. So they need to make Europe a more attractive place to live and work.
Yeah, make it a magnet for talent.
That's the goal anyway.
So we've got economic challenges, demographic shifts, political hurdles.
It's a lot to juggle.
It's like a giant puzzle.
with a lot of missing pieces.
And on top of all that, there's this whole debate about freedom of speech happening in Europe.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Some pretty contrasting views out there.
Like you've got J.D. Vance, the American politician,
Right, he's pretty vocal about this.
saying free speech is under attack in Europe.
And he points to things like the EU's Digital Services Act.
And those safe access zones around abortion clinics in Scotland.
Like he's saying those are examples of cracking down on free expression.
But then you've got fact checkers and other sources pushing back.
Saying Vance is twisting things.
Yeah, presenting a misleading picture.
They argue that the Digital Services Act is about tackling illegal content online.
Like hate speech and disinformation?
Not about stifling legitimate speech.
It's about keeping the internet safe.
And when it comes to those safe access zones,
They say it's about protecting women seeking health care.
not about infringing on anyone's right to pray or express their views.
It's a complex issue, for sure.
Yeah, lots of nuance there.
And it raises some interesting questions about how to balance individual rights with society protections.
Especially in a world that's changing so rapidly.
Yeah, like how do you define free speech? Where do you draw the line when it comes to harmful content?
Big questions.
With no easy answers.
And it seems different countries are approaching it in different ways.
Right, like Germany has stricter laws against hate speech than a lot of other European countries.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
No, each country has its own context.
Now, one thing that popped up in a few of these sources, and it's tied to this whole debate about immigration,
What's that?
the Great Replacement Theory.
Oh, wow, yeah,
It's pretty unsettling.
It is. It's this idea that there's a deliberate plan to replace white populations in Western countries.
Through mass immigration,
It's a dangerous ideology
it preys on people's fears.
about demographic change, about economic uncertainty,
Like a conspiracy theory.
and it's got real-world consequences.
The sources even mention terrorist attacks that were inspired by this theory.
Yeah, like the one in Norway in 2011.
And the El Paso shooting in 2019.
It's scary how something like this can motivate people to violence.
And it's so manipulative the way they twist things
They distort statistics, cherry-pick evidence.
to fit their narrative.
Yeah, it's like a house of cards,
Looks impressive at first glance.
but it's built on a flimsy foundation.
And the slightest breeze will knock it down.
And what's really concerning is how they take legitimate concerns about inequality and social cohesion.
And they twist them into weapons of division.
It's not about having a healthy debate about immigration,
It's about spreading fear and prejudice.
which is never a good thing.
So we've got a lot on our plate here.
Economic woes, social tensions, political uncertainty.
And those big looming questions about the future.
It's a lot to unpack,
But hey, that's what we're here for, right?
to try to make sense of it all.
Exactly.
So let's dive in.
Let's see what we can uncover. Okay, so we spent the first part talking about all the problems.
Yeah, the challenges facing Europe.
But now let's shift gears a bit, look at some potential solutions.
Right, because nobody wants to just dwell on the negative.
Exactly, we got to see what paths forward might exist.
And as we go through these sources, one theme keeps popping up.
Okay, what's that?
Innovation. Europe needs to step up its game.
Especially when it comes to research and development, right?
Exactly. Remember the Draghi Report?
Yeah, that was a big one.
Basically saying invest billions or get left behind.
Especially in those emerging sectors like green tech and AI.
It was a wake-up call for sure.
But it's not just about throwing money at the problem, right?
No, it's about fostering a culture of risk-taking,
Encouraging entrepreneurship.
creating an environment where innovation can flourish.
Like, imagine if Europe had its own Silicon Valley.
Oh, that would be amazing.
A hub for all the brightest minds.
Coming together, collaborating, building the future.
But even with all the best ideas and a thriving tech scene,
You need the people to make it happen.
right, the brain drain.
Yeah, those talented young Europeans,
Especially in fields like tech and engineering.
they're getting lured away by better opportunities elsewhere.
Higher salaries, maybe.
Maybe, but also just more dynamic environments.
So attracting and retaining skilled workers is crucial.
Absolutely essential.
It's like trying to bake a cake without enough eggs.
It's just not going to rise properly.
And this whole talent shortage is linked to education, right?
Yeah, investment in education and training.
Especially STEM fields.
Got to build that pipeline of talent.
Get young people excited about those high-growth sectors.
The jobs of the future.
So invest in innovation, cultivate talent. What else?
Well, the sources also talk a lot about the digital single market.
Oh, right. Creating a more unified digital landscape.
Because right now it's a bit fragmented.
Different rules and regulations in each member state.
It's a nightmare for businesses trying to scale.
Like imagine 27 different sets of traffic laws.
Chaos.
So streamline those regulations, promote competition.
Create a level playing field for European tech companies.
Let them compete on the global stage.
Exactly.
Now, we can't talk about Europe's future without addressing the elephant in the room.
Oh, you mean the energy transition?
That's the one. It's a biggie.
It's going to require a serious strategy
And a lot of investment.
It's not just about switching to renewables
It's about using energy more efficiently.
and reducing dependence on external suppliers.
Right, it's a multifaceted challenge.
But it's also a huge opportunity.
Because if Europe gets this right
They could become a global leader in green technologies.
and create a more sustainable energy system,
It's a win-win.
but it's going to be a long road.
A marathon, not a sprint.
And speaking of reducing reliance on external suppliers,
That brings up the idea of strategic autonomy.
oh yeah, that was a hot topic in some of the sources.
Essentially, it's about ensuring Europe has access to critical resources
Whether it's energy, raw materials, technology.
without being overly dependent on any one country.
It's like diversifying your portfolio.
Exactly, spreading the risk.
So if one supplier becomes unreliable,
You've got backup
which
options.
does, but achieving that level of autonomy,
It's not going to be easy.
it requires a lot of coordination
Cooperation between member states
and probably some tough choices.
about which industries to prioritize,
Where to invest.
how to balance competing interests,
It's a complex equation.
with a lot of moving parts.
And it's not just about economics, right?
No, it's about policy extension.
And having a clear vision for the future.
Because all these challenges are interconnected.
Economic reforms need political will,
Social cohesion impacts economic stability.
and technological advancements.
They have ripple effects on everything,
It's like a giant puzzle.
where all the pieces are linked.
You can't just focus on one piece in isolation.
You got to see the bigger picture,
And hopefully, this deep dive is helping us do just that.
giving us a more nuanced understanding of what's at stake,
The challenges, the opportunities.
the potential paths forward,
So let's keep exploring.
and see where this conversation takes us.
And we're back. Final stretch of our deep dive.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
For sure, the good, the bad, the potential.
It's been quite a journey.
But before we wrap things up,
Yeah.
let's bring it back to you, the listener.
Right, because ultimately, this is all about you.
You're the one who wanted to understand this whole,
Complex landscape.
Europe's economic future.
So, what can we take away from all of this?
What are the key insights?
The things that'll help you make sense of it all.
Because it's not just about abstract theories or
Political maneuvering,
it's about how these trends could actually affect people's lives.
it's businesses.
The global landscape, even.
Yeah, it's all connected.
So what have we learned? What should people be thinking about?
Well, one thing that's clear is that Europe's future is not a foregone conclusion.
Okay, so it's not all doom and gloom.
No, not necessarily.
There's still hope.
Absolutely, but there's also no guarantee that they'll reclaim their past economic dominance.
So it's kind of like,
A choose-your-own-adventure story.
I like that.
The path they take is still being written.
And the decisions they make now will have a huge impact.
On which ending they get,
The investments they make, the values they prioritize.
it's all going to play a role.
And here's another thing to keep in mind.
What happens in Europe doesn't stay in Europe.
Right, it's a globalized world.
What affects them affects us all.
It's like those ripples in a pond.
You throw a stone in, the ripples spread out.
Europe's a major player on the world stage.
In trade, in geopolitics, even in culture.
So their economic health matters.
To everyone, whether we realize it or not.
So we need to stay informed.
Engage in these conversations.
Challenge ourselves to think critically about these issues.
Because they're complex.
And there are no easy answers.
No quick fixes.
But hopefully, this deep dive has given you a better understanding.
Of the forces at play.
The challenges and opportunities.
And the potential paths forward.
We've explored a lot of different perspectives.
Highlighted some key themes.
And now, as we wrap things up,
Yep.
we want to leave you with something to ponder.
Something to spark further exploring.
So, given everything we've discussed,
What kind of future do you see for Europe?
what role do you think they'll play on the global stage in the coming decades?
It's a question worth thinking about.
Because ultimately,
The future of Europe is in the hands of its citizens.
and in the hands of informed and engaged individuals like you,
So keep learning, keep questioning.
and keep exploring the world around you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.